Hello and welcome to Curious Giraffe channel. My name is Bhaskar and today we're going to take a look at the movie Companion. Companion is a suspense thriller with a hint of comedy. It is directed by Drew Hancock and stars Sophie Thatcher and Jack Quaid. The opening of this movie was really well done. We slowly understand the two main characters in this movie, and then we are introduced to several other supporting characters one by one, and I think that was really good. All the characters convene at a lakeside residence, and we start to find out what's going on, what is going to happen next. So up until this point, the movie's premise was brilliantly set. What happens next and how things move forward is a little bit of a surprise. It's set within a very small location, just the lakeside residence and the woods surrounding it. So we do get a change of scenery, as in we move from the lakeside residence to the woods for a little bit, and then things come back to the lakeside residence. But at the end of the day, there is not much change in scenery, and it seems forced that, all the things that happen within one single location. One of the big letdowns of this movie is the sheer number of flaws, logical flaws in the screenplay that are very apparent as you watch the movie. As an example, we are told about the way in which the robot's factory settings can be reset to the default settings. It's not a big procedure. It takes 5 seconds, and the robots apparently don't even object to it. So given this scenario, when the first murder happens, I wondered why this wasn't deployed. Why wasn't the factory reset option used right away? Of course, if that was used, we don't have a movie at all. So this was a gaping hole in the logic. The second big issue is that scene involving the deputy sheriff and Sophie Thatcher's character. Now, the deputy sheriff clearly sees Sophie's character struggling, breaking the glass of the car, jumping out the window. Her clothes are drenched in blood and dirt. She's been through a lot. So none of this really triggers any panic or questioning from the deputy sheriff. He just has a very, casual conversation as if nothing happened. There is an intelligent moment in that scene in terms of how Sophie handles it. That is brilliant. But, this whole deputy commissioner apparently knows a Russian billionaire by his first name. So he's pretty local to that area. The way he approaches the conversation in a very casual manner, I think it was just over the top. It wasn't believable. And then obviously, he sees something in the front seat of the car and that triggers an action and he pulls out his gun. So this was very hard to believe. And then when the first murder happens, one of the characters tells the others that he's going to call the cops. And no one disagrees. They all agree that the cops should be called. And he apparently goes and calls the cops. But the cops never show up throughout the movie. Several hours pass. There's a lot happening, but the cops never show up. The deputy commissioner scene is totally different because the deputy commissioner is just, accidentally bumping into one of the characters. But if he had called the cops, there should be someone at the scene, and no one comes in at the scene, and the characters behave as if the cops are not going to show up. I also thought there were several opportunities where the bad guy or any of the other characters could really have just taken all the money, which was just lying around, and left without any consequences. It was baffling that none of them thought about this particular option. I can't think of issues with, one of the characters just taking the money and running. And lastly, there's a lot of scenes that have been made too convenient for the screenplay. For example, one robot convincing another robot not to do the bad thing. I think that was, too convenient. I didn't really feel anything emotional there. It was, in fact, funny, not in a good way. I mentioned earlier that there is a hint of comedy in this movie. Does it really work? It works in parts, is what I felt. There are some scenes that are genuinely funny, and you can hear the laughter in the movie theater. But there are other places where the comedy really comes in the way of storytelling. I think the thriller versus comedy ratio in this whole movie was a bit off. You either make something that is really funny and live with that, or you make something that's got twists and turns at every step of the way. Doing something in the middle is always risky, and I thought the balance was completely off in this movie. There are many intelligent moments in the movie, that's for sure. There are a couple of scenes where you were really surprised by how intelligence was applied to reveal the twist. It's minor twists that I'm talking about. So those intelligent moments are definitely worth watching. But again, the comedy was a bit off. I felt that in the absence of comedy, this could have been, something like a Megan. Megan did not have, comedy. Megan was purely focused on, what happens next? What does this robot do? How do the humans defeat the robot if that is the motive? So that really worked well. Megan, as a comparison, as an AI robot movie to this movie, worked really well for me. But this one was halfway, neither comedic nor super intelligent. So my final thoughts on this movie. Great premise, good acting. I should say Sophie Thatcher's acting was brilliant because she's not playing a typical robot. There's no robotic moves that she has to make. It's very human-like, and she has to undergo a range of emotions, and I think she really nailed it when it comes to expressions and acting. Jack Quaid as the bad guy, I would say has been competent, really good characterization. Although the flaws really come in the way, I think his acting, if you look at it as a standalone, was really good. The other characters are so-so. The decision to include comedy at odd places in this movie, I felt has hampered the storytelling. Although it was funny in parts, the comedy should have been toned down a little bit, and the focus should have been more on twists, turns, keep the audience guessing on what's going to happen next. Towards the end of the movie, you pretty much know what's going to happen. There's not much suspense there. So it was more a question of get it over with so that I can leave the theater, which is not a great feel. So I walked away from this movie feeling rather empty. Although I should acknowledge that there has been quite a few scenes which were pretty good from a intelligence perspective. If you liked my review of Companion, please hit the like button. I would also like to hear from you, so please give your comments. Let me know what you thought about this review. If there is anything else that I forgot, anything else that you disagree with, please let me know. Until next time, goodbye.